27 people in the waiting room. I've got you unmuted. Can you turn on your camera at all? Start video.
She doesn't have her camera on.
Oh, okay.
Just
let everyone in.
yep, let them all in.
Good morning, everyone. Apologies for the slight delay this morning. We had a few little technical hitches, but hopefully we're sorted through all that now. So I'll just give everybody a second or two to come through so that I can see everybody's now clicked through and in. Hello, my name is Wendy. I'm one of the partnership managers here at Mission Australia. So before we get started, just one or two very quick household tips. I'm going to keep everybody's microphone on mute. And so as we're going through the presentation, if you have any questions, please just type them in the chat box and we'll come to all the questions at the end. So there will be time for a Q&A and some questions at the end of the presentation. And also finally, just to let you know that this is being recorded. Today's session is being recorded. So now I would like to hand you over to Ben Carblis, who is the Service Delivery Executive for Community, Family and Children's Services. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you so much, Wendy, and welcome everybody. It's great to have you here with us again. Looking forward to being able to share with you more about our Missionbeat services in the Northern Territory. But to start, I'd like to acknowledge country. I'm standing here or sitting here in our national office on Gadigal country of the Aurora Nation, and I'd like to pay our respects to elders past and present. I also want to acknowledge that last week was National Reconciliation Week, a week that in Mission Australia we engaged quite wholesomely in a range of different activities across the country. I watched a documentary that was made available again. Melbourne University made it available, and it was Wick versus Queensland, an incredible documentary, really sharing the insights and the challenges of native title and land and all that goes with that. And I really learnt through that, or was reminded of the importance of listening and understanding and not being quick to act. But is an important week and very relevant with the work that we do here at Mission Australia to do all we can to support reconciliation. So just by way of introduction for today, I just thought I'd give a bit of a feel for more the lay of the land in the context of things that are happening in Mission Australia. And the year ahead is certainly going to be held with a time of government review of different programs, the way that the government can fund different services. Following COVID, the government has spent a lot of money, as you would know, and we believe that there's going to be a time where they'll be more selective in what they would be funding moving forward, and we can understand the reason for that. The challenge with that is that the need continues to grow. We've seen increased levels of family and domestic violence, so the need is there. We've also seen increased levels in the rise of mental health and particular unemployment for our young people. So the challenge is great, and we also think the government is going to continue to be more selective. There's quite a bit of reviewing going on with the government in a range of different programs, whether that be for people with disabilities, homelessness services in different states. But one thing's for sure is that the need is there, it continues, and your generosity in support is so welcome and very needed. So I just want to continue to express our appreciation of your ongoing support in journeying with us here at Mission Australia in the work that we do. It was only a couple of weeks ago that I was out in Sydney at our Missionbeat services, and I was reminded about the front-end engagement that we have with people that are sleeping rough. Missionbeat is one of the longest programs that Mission Australia has run. It's been running for a long time, well over 100 years of these type of servicing and supporting our communities, particularly in Sydney. And I was confronted with the fact that the need is great. I want to engage with people to really meet them where they are at, and that's what Missionbeat does. I'm going to introduce you to Michael Solar in a moment, who's going to give you a bit of a closer insight into our latest Missionbeat service offering in the Northern Territory, only made possible by your generous support. Michael Solar, our regional leader there in the Northern Territory, was the founding leader of Missionbeat in the Northern Territory. He had a lot to do with helping us identify the need, developing the service delivery model, but importantly, establishing those connections within the community to make it a program that can maximise the impact of those we serve to create such a need. And we know that the need is great in the Northern Territory, particularly brought on over the last 12 months. I could talk forever about Missionbeat, and I know Michael knows that I can do that as well, but I'm going to get out of the way and let you hear closer in terms of what Missionbeat Northern Territory is all about. So welcome, Michael.
Thanks, Ben. And it's an absolute honour to be here today with everyone to talk to you about something that, as Ben mentioned, I'm extremely passionate about. And I know that a lot of staff here in the Northern Territory are really passionate about as well, which is Missionbeat NT. As Ben mentioned, it's the most recent in the suite of Missionbeat programs. And it's actually one that's a little different from the others, purely because it's in the Northern Territory, but also because of the slightly different focus that we have on addressing the need that is there. So thank you so much, Ben, and I really appreciate the time to be able to present to everyone today about this. So we'll get underway. We've got a presentation that's here that we'll work through, and I'll get the technical genius there we go, to get that started up for us. So as we said, welcome to today's virtual tour of Missionbeat NT. Today, I'm hoping that I can take you on a journey, and I know that's a word that we use too often to describe programs and supports and different things that we do, but I really want to take you on a journey about Missionbeat NT and where it comes from, what it is, the need, the collaborations, the data, the input, the case studies at the end that we're going to talk through. But most importantly of all, we're going to talk through why Missionbeat is operating in the NT and why it's so successful up until this point in time. I too would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet. We pay our respects to the elders past, present, the culture and dreams of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. We recognise the cultural heritage, beliefs and continual relationship with the land, and we recognise the importance of the young people who are the future leaders. And it's those young people that for us make all the difference when it comes to Missionbeat NT. I'd like to recognise that I come to you today from Larrakia land, the land of the saltwater people, but also representing all the nations of the Northern Territory. When you think of the NT and the Northern Territory, you often think about vast open spaces, beautiful sites, beautiful imagery, lots of tourism, lots of camel trains, crocodiles, all sorts of things that you see out there, that you see in those tourism commercials, all the things that you have on your bucket list that you want to see, to ride the Ghan up the middle of Australia, or to come to the top end and catch a barra, to go on a camel ride around the rock out at Uluru. There are so many things that go into the Northern Territory. But what we identified pretty early in the piece when we looked into Missionbeat NT was that there was a real need. And that need told us that this was a tale of two worlds. There's the world that the outside sees, which is the beautiful tourism mecca that is the NT. And we'd love to see everyone up here. The other world is the world of need in the Northern Territory. And it's something that as we go through this today, you're going to see there's significant need up here. And we've worked closely with the community around addressing some of the most important needs there. What we're going to do is we're going to hit the road with Missionbeat now, and we're going to talk through some of the data and some of the stats that are so important. This picture that you've got there, the map that's in front of you, is actually something that's very representative of why the need is so significant in the Northern Territory. You'll note there that that's the socioeconomic indexes for areas map that's produced by the Australian Bureau of Statistics. You'll note that about 97% of the Northern Territory is red, which means that it is in the most disadvantaged group. There's about 3% that's not, and 2% of that sits up in the Darwin area. That's the blue section at the top. But even that shows that the Darwin area covers the most advantaged in the country. comparable with Sydney, with Canberra, with Melbourne, and with the southern part of WA. But that actually doesn't tell the true story. This is, like I said, the tale of two worlds. The two worlds that exist up here are basically red and blue in that very, very respect, because we have a lot of high-end workers that are paid on big contracts. It's a misrepresentation on this data. There's actually need right across the Northern Territory, and that's something that we'll explore now. Homelessness in the Northern Territory has the highest rates in the nation. It's well over 2 times the amount per 10,000 population. There's 91% of people who are homeless live in severely crowded accommodation. 8% of those are sleeping rough in what we call the long grass up here. 3% of those are couch surfing, and of all those, a whopping 5% are in supported accommodation, which is a very small amount considering the need that is there. You'll note that on the regional breakdown to the right, 5 of the top 10 regions in Australia fall within the Northern Territory. You also note that at the bottom there, that the NT is well and truly punching above their weight when it comes to services getting in, getting their hands dirty to try and help people in those situations. When you look at the fact that, pardon me, approximately just over 4% of people in the Northern Territory community are seeking assistance compared to 1.1% nationally, that's 4 times the amount that needs support. This is just a quick snapshot of what we see from the Australian Bureau of Statistics. You'll note there that the total population of the Territory back in 2016 was around about 228,000 or 250,000. That has grown somewhat in the last few years, but that's about the size of a large suburb in inner city Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane. When you look at the need that I referenced before, you'll also note that employment-wise, things look pretty similar to others. But when you look at the part-time and the casual rates of workforces up here, they are very different. Before we go any further, we probably need to have a look back at some of the services that we run in the Northern Territory. These became the platform on which we built the Missionbeat program. So in Alice Springs, we run housing services, particularly at our Stewart Lodge and our Elkema Development Centre, which are long-term. Elkema is a long-term transitional housing program. Stewart Lodge is our homelessness program, and we also have some other support programs that we run in Alice Springs. In Katherine, we run a sobering up shelter. We also have a suicide prevention program. Sorry, can you go to the next slide, please? Back one. We have our suicide prevention program. We also have some emergency relief and some housing for young people that we've just started in recent times as well. In Darwin, we run some major programs up here. We have the Sobering Up Shelter in Darwin, which is the largest one in Australia, and it sees approximately 12,000 presentations a year. We have a residential rehabilitation treatment service. Our housing support programs, we've just taken on a support service in a major housing program called Baton Road. We also have community healing and wellbeing, another suicide prevention program. But most importantly of all, we have 2 programs down the bottom there called Spin 180, which is a generalist case management program, and Housing for Young People, which is another program that we engage with young people transitioning out of the care of Territory families into independent living. So looking at all the services we deliver, we actually then needed to look at what is Missionbeat, what's it going to do, and how are we going to develop the program. So it's a localised assertive outreach program, a mobile support service providing brief interventions to young people to meet immediate need. We patrol youth hotspots operating outside of hours. It's a direct referral service with warm handover processes, and it dovetails neatly into the current suite of NT youth programs that I just mentioned. The program itself is aimed at young people between the age of 12 and 25, and we're currently reviewing that because in the first 18 months of service, we've actually seen that we're engaging a lot more with kids between the age of 8 and 18 than we are between 12 and 25. The referrals from this program can also complement other MA services in the NT, including AOD referrals, alcohol and other drug referrals, housing referrals, mental health support, and community wellbeing and healing programs and suicide prevention programs for young people. You'll note there that the old and the new come together. We've got 40 years ago where someone decided to put a van on the street in Sydney, and we've got the current iteration of what Missionbeat looks like in Darwin. Missionbeat wouldn't be possible without our stakeholder network, and the key stakeholders that we have in this play an important part in keeping this program supported whilst we're out there on the road. Those stakeholders, and you'll see the list on the right there: Ironbark Aboriginal Corporation, Larrakia Nation, the Australian Red Cross, the YMCA, and a number of other services there that really work closely with us to make sure that we're delivering what we need to for the young people of the Northern Territory. The YMCA in Darwin operates the Youth Drop-In Centre, and Judy, that's pictured there on the right, has been in that role for the last 12 months that they've been operating. She speaks extremely highly of the fact that our staff have worked with them to not only develop their program, but to work closely with the young people, as you can see pictured, to really provide them somewhere to be, safe to have a conversation, someone to link in with, and someone to be able to engage with young people who in some cases just need a conversation, but in the more extreme cases actually need a lot more when it comes to referral to safe services, to territory families, and or to police or other services that are out there. The Red Cross also runs the Shack, which is called Safe Hangout for All Kids. This program was set up in 1984 and has been operating ever since to deliver somewhere safe for young people in the northern suburbs of Darwin to attend, where they don't have to stay on the streets. This program is something that Missionbeat has worked closely with from day one to make sure that we get the best results possible for young people. It's actually a program that works very nicely with Missionbeat because Missionbeat can actually engage with young people in a safe space, but can also work with them in a space that also provides the support like Missionbeat does to make a difference in these young people's lives. The outcomes of the program are pretty simple. We look at the initial engagement, we look at the intermediate outcomes, and we also look at the long-term outcomes. The most important thing when it comes to those outcomes is that regardless of whether it's initial, intermediate, or long-term, that we're making a difference in the lives of those young people here in the top end. The immediate needs can be anything from personal needs of food, water, referral to shelter, even just making a phone call to someone to come and collect a young person. We also provide them with information about support services that are out there and that are relevant to their situation. The intermediate outcomes are always focused on increased awareness, support services available, and continue to access services when needed. We also look at increasing the readiness to transition to intervention support services for these young people. Always look to develop stronger integrated social support networks. And then always we try and evaluate the social impact as a result of our service being out there. Importantly, it's really important to note that this program operates on a Friday and a Saturday night between the hours of 4 p.m. and midnight. The funding that's been raised so far has allowed that to occur. It'd be great to try and expand that service, because what we find at the moment is that we might engage with a young person on a Friday or a Saturday night and then not see them again for some time, if ever. We do know that these young people that are street present on those nights are not doing it out of choice in a lot of cases, that it's actually more around a need to do with family supports, overcrowding, family violence, and or social peer pressure. The long-term outcomes for this program are always about trying to get sustained engagement and engagement with intervention services for young people. The long-term measures around wellbeing, health outcomes, and social outcomes are always a bonus if we can get them. But we know that the program being 18 months long, those long-term outcomes are hard to achieve when you've got such a short time with these young people. The mission critical stats, this is the information that to me tells a whole story around Missionbeat and what's happened. So in the last 12 months up until now, in this financial year, we've run 49 patrols. We've had a total of 1,853 engagements, which is just under 38 contacts per patrol of young people out there on the streets of Darwin on a Friday and Saturday night. 60% of those clients were in the 13 to 16-year-old age bracket. And I would dare say that a significant amount of those were in the younger age bracket as well. The gender breakdown is kind of skewed big time in the favour of males. 83% of young males and 17% of females that we engage with. But what I can tell you is that the engagement with those 17% of females is what we found to be more complex in recent times and a lot more concerning when we see some of the behaviours that are occurring. We've recently seen huge spikes in the amount of volatile substance abuse happening here on the streets, particularly within the teenage female bracket. The service has been operating and has driven just under 24,000 kilometres in the last 12 months to provide that service to these young people. And of those 1,800 contacts, 87% of those are identifying as Indigenous. What we want to talk about now is some case studies of some young people that we've engaged along the way. The young man you'll see on the screen there in the orange chair is a young guy named Lucas. Lucas came to Missionbeat's attention when the drop-in centre in Palmerston run by the YMCA first came about. Lucas was there, he was lost. He wasn't too sure about what to do with life or where he was going to go. He was a young man that was living with his grandmother, which is not uncommon up here, and his mother and father were whereabouts unknown. He was a child that was a result that had come into the care of his grandmother as a result of family violence situations. His grandmother looked after him, but he was also looking after two younger siblings. Lucas engaged with the YMCA, who referred him on to Missionbeat. Missionbeat had multiple conversations with him and engagements with him, and in the last 12 months have had ongoing support with this young person. We've worked with him to engage back into school. He's now completing year 12 this year. He's also completing at the same time a Certificate 3 in physical training, in personal training. He wants to work in the physical fitness space. And the man on the right that you'll see at the bottom there is a man by the name of Adam Drake, who runs a program up in the top end called Balanced Choice. Balanced Choice is an amazing program that focuses on young kids at risk and getting them into healthy mindset and healthy activities. There's also the man at the top with the basketball. He's a man by the name of Timmy Duggan. Timmy is someone that's worked with Mission Australia in several of our services to provide his Hoops for Health program. Timmy was a former NBL player and he runs this program right across the nation. We've now got Lucas linked in with these two men to try and actually find him a pathway to employment that will actually allow him to impart his knowledge now around the health and fitness space to others in his age group and those beyond. The next young man you'll meet is a man by the name of Jake. Our Missionbeat guys engaged Jake outside one of the shops in the Palmerston area of Darwin. He was 19 at the time and he'd been couch surfing for the 12 months prior. He'd been getting by on the support from friends, giving him somewhere to stay, and he'd found it harder to survive on youth allowance, especially when he needed to pay rent and other debts, which often left him with little or no money for food. When we engaged him, he was homeless. He was actually camping out at the back of a supermarket to try and scrounge for food. Missionbeat referred him on to our Darwin Regional Accommodation Service that we run up here in Darwin, which is a step out of homelessness. Jake then continued with case management in that team and also with the support of Missionbeat dropping in and keeping that case management profile going with him as well. Over the period of about 6 to 8 months, Jake worked successfully with his case managers to be able to set up some supported accommodation process. And he's also then been able to obtain a casual position at the Good Guys electrical store and was working 20 hours a week. His next goal now is to obtain full-time employment and long-term independent housing. I think you'll agree that's two case studies there around the clients that we've been dealing with that show where someone can be in such need, but where we can actually help them to not only to sustain their life, but also to thrive in the support that we can provide. To round this one out and to close the loop on what we've spoken about today when it comes to Missionbeat in the NT, we've got a picture here, which is actually from the first Lara Pinta Trail launch back in 2018. And you note that there's our CEO, James Toomey, standing at the back. And just to the front and left of him is a lady by the name of Amanda Hollingsworth. Amanda was one of the first trekkers that did the Lara Pinta Trail to fundraise for this program. Unbeknownst to us, some 15 months later, when we actually launched our Missionbeat program in the NT, we launched it at the major shopping centre up here called Casuarina. And as we were launching it, this lady came over and tapped me on the shoulder and actually made the comment and said, "I raised money for that car." And it took me by surprise, because it wasn't until that moment that I realised that one of the people that actually did the trek was a Darwin resident, and was someone that it had fallen off my radar to even know that she was living in Darwin still. When I spoke to her, I said, "You actually went on the trek. You walked on the trail." And she said, "Yes, I did. And I made and sold quilts to fundraise dollars for that program." And it was an amazing story. And at that point, it was pretty straightforward to know that there was one person we wanted to cut the ribbon on this program. In the absence of our CEO, James Toomey, at the time, was to get Amanda to cut it. When I spoke to Amanda about why she was there that day, she actually said, "Well, it's a very small world," because the young girl at the top of the screen, Phoebe Ware, with the guitar, was the musical talent that we had booked to come in, a young person who'd been affected by things herself, who wanted to come in and sing a few songs for our launch, for the program launch. And when Phoebe started singing, and it was an amazing day, the lady that was there, Amanda, said to me, "Oh, I came to see Phoebe because she's one of my year 12 students. I didn't know anything about this program until I did the trek," and she didn't realise that we were kicking it off. It was such a small world moment that it actually honoured me to have her get up and say a few words about her trek, and also to be there to launch the program on that day. And I think that, for me, closes the loop on how important it is for support for programs like this. We know that when it comes to the young people in need here in the top end of Australia, there is such dire need. We absolutely adore this program up here in the top end, because it gives us such engagement with young people who are street present and have no other options. But I think you'll agree that Amanda's story there, closing the loop on how she fundraised, she did the trek, and then she actually launched the program for us, is a really key testament to how small this world is. Even if it is a tale of two worlds, it's a very small place. So that brings me to the conclusion of the presentation today. I'd like to thank you for your time. You'll see that's the Missionbeat launch day that's there. I'm more than happy for questions. I know that we'll get to that section in a minute. But most importantly, the work that we do up here never ends. The support that we need will always be there. But the most important thing is that I know that staff here in the Northern Territory have not only the passion and the engagement, but the compassion to constantly work to strengthen communities and to reduce homelessness. So I thank you for your time. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael, enormously for your presentation, and especially your case studies. I have a few questions in the chat box, which I might just see if I can read out to you. So the first question is, engaging young people is difficult. Are we finding that Missionbeat is becoming known by young people and they are peer referring to you?
Absolutely. What we have noticed more than anything is that when we first started this program, the question of what's that really brightly coloured ute driving around didn't take long for that to get known across the Darwin area. And what we found is that the first thing we had to do was build trust with the young people because they're a very aloof group. Once we started to build trust and engagement, we've actually found that we are now getting peer referrals. We now know that when the Missionbeat service pulls up to young people out there on the street at night, that they're actually really happy to engage and feel safe to engage. We have been known on occasion to be flagged down by young people to report situations where they're trying to look out for other young people as well, and they're providing us information to contact police or emergency services where needed. But the engagement that we've found that young people have been most appreciative of is just someone to listen to them, because often they don't get listened to. They actually get told what they need. They don't actually get listened to or heard about what they actually do need. So they're quite often being told by different departments and programs that this is what you need, we'll give this to you. The one thing about Missionbeat NT is that we engaged young people from the start around what they wanted to see in a service like this. And what they really wanted to see was someone that they could engage with. We give them business cards with the contact number for the service on it. We give them referral information, support information, even for the young people that we've come across in recent times who have been subject to volatile substance abuse. We're finding that they are more than appreciative of us being able to try and refer them on to services to help them with those situations.
Thank you, Michael. I've just got one further question that's come through here. I know that you spoke a little about the people using the young people using the Missionbeat service. So just there's an interesting question around what's the mix of people that use service that are actually experiencing homelessness as opposed to wanting to be away from their home at night.
Yeah. That question can be a rather tricky one in the NT, because there are multiple definitions of the term homelessness here in the Northern Territory. There are some people that are situationally homeless, as in they might have a home in a remote community, but they've come into Darwin for medical treatment or to chaperone someone who's having medical treatment, but they've missed transport home, so they're situationally stuck here and homeless. What that tends to do is it impacts hugely on overcrowding in services. So what we tend to find is that where we're engaging with young people, it's more a case of they have nowhere safe to stay because it is either hugely overcrowded or there are reasons that they can't go home. Family, domestic violence. There's people from out of town that have taken over the house or whatever it might be. So there is always that situation that does occur. But the mix between young people that just don't want to go home versus those that are actually out without home or without shelter is probably around 40 to 60%. So 40% that are young people that are out engaged in whether it's antisocial behaviour or just out in groups of young people, as they do on a Friday and Saturday night and have done for generations. But so there are some of those young people that are just out having fun at night, kicking the football around on the oval, but there are others who might be up to some sort of mischief. But the service that we have is so flexible that we can actually engage any situation and make sure that we get a quality outcome.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any more questions for the chat box? No, I can't see any more questions coming in. So thank you again, Michael. And I'd like to hand everybody back to Ben.
Oh, well, thank you, Wendy and Michael. A great presentation, and really would have been heartening to connect with Amanda, and Amanda connecting with Phoebe, and seeing that real closeness of the support in the Northern Territory. I did mention that Missionbeat's running for some time. Mission Australia has been running for 160 years, and Missionbeat kicked off in 1979, and there was a real need in New South Wales where it kicked off, and in Sydney, to really join the dots and connections to be able to have people where they need to go and understand that. And the connection is key for it to work. And I think you could see the evidence of what Michael presented with the connections of those people in the Northern Territory is such a critical success factor. Michael, I really want to thank you. I know that you really pulled this together and engaged heavily with the Larapinta Trek as well. And the pragmatic approach that we need to take to really meet people where they are at and be able to support them. So I'm hoping that this presentation was helpful for a lot of you to get closer to what our Missionbeat service is in the Northern Territory, our latest Missionbeat in an area which you can clearly see is of immense need. And I also really want to thank you once again for your ongoing and generous support. Without your help, the work of what Michael presented just would not be possible. So a heartfelt thank you. I hope you have a terrific rest of day, and I will say goodbye to you now. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.